So, last night's episode of Critical Role, Campaign 3, episode 54, wasn't the most eventful episode, but we received a piece of information that sent my brain absolutely haywire. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fraud on the Telly. Join with me as we put on our tinfoil hats and take a deep dive into one of the most wildest Critical Role Campaign 3 theories I think I've come up with yet. So as we said, Critical Role Campaign 3 episode 54, last night's episode of Critical Role, wasn't the most eventful episode, it wasn't the most plot progressing episode, but there was a nugget of information that we learned through a certain interaction that really got me thinking. The interaction I'm speaking about is the interaction between Frida, the guest character played by Christian Navarro, the Aormaton, and FCG, played by Sam Riegel, the other Aormaton. During this episode, FCG accompanies Frida into her dreams. It's very interesting because Frida is an Aormaton, and the fact that they can dream is interesting. And also it's interesting because they dream apparently the same dream every night. Every time they have the dream, they slowly remember a little bit more, apparently. So FCG joins Frida in her dream. Here we see a absolutely beautiful, pristine Exandria, an Exandria that is very much pre-calamity in nature, as the world is pristine. But really what makes this dream, this vision interesting is what happens next. Suddenly, Frida looks down, seeing human feet, and this is where she is confused in her dream. But FCG, looking at Frida, sees the apparition of a small young boy that is inside of Frida, almost as if Frida is protecting this boy. Later on, after the dream, Frida seems to recall that there was some young boy in her past, and that this boy's laughter was one of the most pure things that she has ever heard, and that she thinks that she was supposed to protect this young boy way in the past. Check out your tinfoil hats, guys, because I have a theory, a strong shaking suspicion that this young boy from the distant past that Frida was supposed to protect might be none other than Ludinus Delath. Yes, that's right, Ludinus Delath, our main baddie, the man who apparently is over 1,500 years old, if we are to believe him, the man who has now tried to set free Predathos, this crazy space entity, in an effort to destroy the gods. Now you might be asking yourself, Fraud, you're on one, what are you talking about? How could this possibly be Ludinus Delath? But see, the thing is, when you really start to think about it, it kind of starts to make sense. If we are to take Ludinus Delath for his word and believe that he is about 1,500 or well over 1,500 years old, that he was alive pre-calamity in some kind of form, shape, or form, then this time period does line up. We do know that Ludinus Delath is a survivor of Melasmere, an ancient home, an ancient settlement of elves that was existed in the northern reaches of Wildmount. Sometime in history, Melasmere was destroyed. It was corrupted by some unknown force, a force that I'm pretty sure we're going to figure out at some point during this campaign, but we're going to get back to that later, forcing the elves of Melasmere to abandon their home, traveling down, many of them migrating to the city of Uthodurn. We know for a fact, we know for a truth that this is what happened with one Ludinus Delath. As far as geography, this also adds up, as Melasmere is to the northern reaches of Wildmount, not too crazy far away from the city of Uthodurn. We also know that Aor consistently flew over this part of Wildmount. While it was a flying city and presumably it could go over all over Exandria, we know that pieces of Aor fell down and crashed in the northern reaches of Wildmount in Isocross. So we know that Aor, as a city, liked to hang out in this area. It's also interesting when we analyze Frida as an Aormaton. Frida is a very interesting, unique Aormaton. We learned that her name stands for Far-Ranging Integrated Defense Aormaton, that they are some kind of a tracker, a bodyguard that is made to travel across far distances. Now, what purpose, I might ask you, does this type of Aormaton serve to the people of Aor flying in a city well overhead? That's right, it doesn't really serve much purpose to the people of Aor on the city of Aor. Frida seems like an Aormaton that was meant to travel around the actual Exandria proper, on the planet below, on the surface of Exandria. It seems to be safe to presume that most of her missions as an Aormaton would most likely take place on the surface of Exandria, as that was she was designed to do. So then it is my theory that the little boy that Frida was charged to protect was a young Ludinus Delath. You see, I believe that Ludinus Delath, history, the story of his past, is greatly linked, intrinsically linked to the outcome that is going to happen in Campaign 3. It very much seems that the instances that happened in Ludinus' past are affecting his motivation for his choices today, his hatred for the gods, his wanting to release Predathos. We don't know exactly what happened in Melasmir all of those years ago, why Melasmir became corrupted, why the Savalirwood became corrupted and the elves were forced to flee. To me, it seems like there is very much important information that we will learn that links Ludinus to all of these crazy details in history, as like we said, his hatred for the gods runs deep. According to him, he was alive in the Calamity, and this is where much of this hatred came from, which would make sense, especially if you were a person who lived on Exandria proper, on the surface of Exandria during the Calamity, when absolute hell broke loose. Who knows what was happening in 585 post-Divergence, when apparently the city of Melasmir fell to some strange corruption, some strange cataclysm. I'd be very curious to know if Ludinus Delath is somehow linked to this potential cataclysm that took place near Melasmir. Was he trying to do some kind of ritual to summon, release Predathos all the way back in 585 PD, but it failed, and as thus we saw the destruction of Melasmir. There's really so many questions here, and like I said, this is a pretty absurd theory. It's more than likely that we're wrong, but part of me feels like there could be some real grains of truth here. Ludinus is way too important of a character for our story. He is the primary antagonist. There's so much information that we don't know about him, but he does very much seem to be linked into events that happened in ancient time, events with lots of mystery shrouded around them. As well, we have the awakening of these Aeormatons, ancient beings who also are linked to this specific time period, beings that are as old as Ludinus Delath, beings that also have memories of pre-calamity, of the calamity of the ancient city of Aeor and ancient magic. Yes, this theory is a bit shaky, it only has so much ground to stand on, but I do think that the reason they are in Uthadurn is important. We know that Ludinus Delath spent time in Uthadurn. We know that Ludinus Delath is from Melasmir, that is not far away from Uthadurn. We know that Uthadurn's current structure as ruled by a dwarf and an elf is because of what happened at Melasmir. All of these things are linked, and at the center of them is this reoccurring character that is Ludinus Delath. So yes, while it may be a crazy theory, yes, I have my tinfoil hat on, part of me thinks that this little boy was Ludinus Delath, and that over time we're gonna learn some crazy information on this elf, as who knows what the heck this guy was up to all those years ago. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the theory or learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your theories in the comments down below. What did you think about this theory? Obviously, this boy could literally be anyone. The chances of him being Ludinus are low, but wow. Would you imagine if it actually was Ludinus Delath? As always, guys, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, as always, peace, love, Adu.
A love story that might be. We wasn't supposed to happen. So much talk around us. We became numb to the yapping. It was like 05. Got my license to drive. Picked you up in my pop's car. Went for a ride. Couldn't no one tell us nothing. That night was